welcome back to a new watercolour video. Today I'm going to be doing some florals, just some simple, beginner friendly, easy loose florals. So I was looking at some beautiful flowers in my sister's garden and it's just really inspired me to want to get better at painting flowers, but nothing too complicated, just really simple, just beginner friendly because I'm at the beginner stage myself. But I do want to improve on this loose flower style. And I made a recent attempt at painting these simple flowers from the Modern Watercolour Workshop book, and it really wasn't as difficult as I thought it was going to be. So I want to expand into that further and try some different flowers. And I'm using Sennelier Watercolors today. This is the Billy Shoal set, so these are better suited for florals. And I've got a variety of different paintbrushes just to help me create different petal shapes. And because it's all just about practicing shape today, I'm using this cellulose paper, so it's not a cotton paper, it's Jackson's own. So if you're painting along, just any paper will do. And then I might move on to some better quality paper when I'm more happy with the shapes that I'm making. I've got this beautiful illustrated flora book and it's absolutely gorgeous. So I'm going to use some of these of ideas of what to paint, and I might try and copy some of these, loosely copy, loosely. This one doesn't look too difficult. I'm going to have a go at that one. And just various other flowers. But yeah, I just recently got this book actually, an old copy, an old second-hand copy, so it was only a few pound on, I think it was either eBay or Amazon Marketplace. So it's a fairly large book with lots and lots of flowers, and I love that they're illustrated, they're not photographs. I want to start with cornflowers. So I've just downloaded the Unsplash app, which I've never tried before, and I'm just going to search for cornflowers. See if I can. See, I'm looking for something that I can show on screen, and I think it's okay to share these on the screen. I don't think there's any copyright with Unsplash, because just to look for images on Google, it's a bit tricky, me then showing that in my video. You've got to be careful with, you know, copyright infringement. So yeah, plenty. I love these as well. I'll try and do some of these. So I'll start with the cornflower. No, it's only a little. Try and find a full cornflower. Cornflowers. There's not many, but it's a start. Okay, start with this one. I don't know what possessed me to buy such a large pad of paper. I don't think I'm ever going to be doing paintings that big. So I'm trying to use this up. Right, I want a pinky colour for the leaves. So I'm going to make that up first. This is the Helio Purple. But it's just a pinky colour, just use whatever you have. I'm using these Sennelier ones because they're really fine, so they're good for flowers. And I'm also, of course, going to add some shimmer to that. So I'm going to use the fragments set, and I'm going to use the violet fragments because it's more of a pinky colour. Just give that a couple of minutes to soak. Mix some of that in the paint. I'm going to start with a circle with a pencil, just as a little guide. And I'm going to use it's like a pointy mop brush. So this is a Silver Black Velvet number 8. It's quite pointy, but it's very absorbent. It holds a lot of water as well, which is handy. So just get my paint loaded up, and then I'm going to start in the middle. So it's just a fairly basic petal shape. So start with the point at the bottom and then drag up. So that one's quite straight, and then I'm just going to go like that, bend it slightly at the top, so they kind of like then start bending in towards the circle, and then they get a little bit smaller sometimes. So then I'm doing another one, bending it in, bending it in. And then sometimes these ones are usually kind of skinny. Okay, so I'll try that again. They make some skinnier ones at the side, and then sometimes they stick out like this. Sometimes they just stick out like that. So I'm going to look for, I'm going to try again with a different shaped one. So I'm going to try this one now. So it's more of a circle at the top and then a little bit flatter at the bottom. And then these ones are really sticky outy. So they're actually quite short here because of the angle. So they're shorter and fatter. So I'm going to start much closer and then really press down to make that petal shape fatter. And then make them a little bit thinner as coming towards the sides, and then these ones at the sides are kind of a bit longer and thinner. I'm going to try that one again, because if you look at the flower, I've got all the petals ending right round here, whereas if you look at the picture, they're all ending within this section here at the bottom. So I'm going to try that one again. So that's a little bit better. I'm going to kind of fill that in. Right, I'm going to leave those to dry and then move on to the little centre part. I'm going to do another one. I'm going to switch to a smaller brush. Try with a smaller brush. So I've got a number 5 round. Then I'm going to get some more concentrated paint and drop it in at the tops of those. I think this one's so much better. I love the variety in colour, and the thinner petals just look so much better. Yeah, so we'll definitely carry on using this brush moving forward for those petals. Now I'm going to move on to the centres. I'm just going to loosely paint that in with an orange colour. And then I've got some strong alizarin crimson on my brush, and I'm going to add a little bit of shading to the bottom with that. And then I'm just going to add a darker piece of shading across the bottom of here with the alizarin crimson. I am tempted to add more detail, but I'm not going to because I want to keep it simple and loose. Okay, so out of those, this one is obviously the best one, so I'm quite pleased with that one. So I've got a thinner brush and I'm just going to add a stroke, get a little bit of green on there. Don't think that's in the right place. Oh my god. I'm going to take that alizarin crimson a bit further up, because on the reference picture the orange, it really is only the tip. Okay, so I'll move on to something else. I've got some pages marked off. Okay, I'm going to try this one. This looks pretty simple. French crane's bill. I'm going to use a filbert brush for this one, so that's got a roundy end. It's kind of a flat brush with a roundy end. And then I'm just going to try and copy these petals. So I've got a nice reddy pink colour. Load my brush up, and then we'll start with this petal. So I'm just going to use the roundy part of the brush and copy kind of the direction, so that's that petal. It's kind of like that. Mine's a little bit long, but then this one's kind of like curves a little bit like this. This one here, I'm going to use the side of the brush to make kind of that oval shape, and then that one there. And I'm just going to make them a little bit more rounded. Just going to try a couple more while that one's drying. Then I'm going to use some Jane's Grey, quite neat right from the pan, to do these little black bits in the middle. So I'm just going to do some random little dots. Just using a tiny little liner brush. And I'm going to do that again without leaving a white gap in the middle, and adding some shading around the edges of the petals, and hopefully I can improve that a little bit. I'm going to get some more concentrated colour on the tip of my brush and dab that around the edges. Dried my brush off so it's just damp, and I'm going to lift some colour out, just a little bit. Dry it off and get a little bit stronger colour and paint this last petal in here, which is just kind of like an oval shape. I'm using some of the Daniel Smith Serpentine Green, and I'm just gonna, with the side of the brush, just press down to make 2 oval shapes and then a stem. And then just fill this in with a light pink, a really light pink colour. Yeah, so it definitely takes a few times to get it right. It's unlikely it's just going to turn out nice the first time you try it. Another thing that I absolutely love to paint is like long grasses. So I'm going to use, I absolutely love this brush. It's a Billy Shoal. It's like really pointy at the end. Now you can't get these anymore, I don't think, because it's actually animal hair, but you can get synthetic versions. She does synthetic versions. So this is just so relaxing to do. Just kind of, just these long thin petal shapes. So just touch the point, press down, pull down, lift up. Touch the point, press down, pull down, lift up. It's actually quite simple and really relaxing and satisfying, and I think produces really lovely results. And then just do a really skinny line down the middle and then join them on. Just join them on with tiny little skinny lines. And you can do little tiny ones. Okay, so time to pick another one, and I really fancy having a go at these. So I think if I could break it down, I'm just going to do like one, I'm not going to do the whole thing, just do one kind of bulb thing at a time. So yeah, don't know what, that's what those are called. They look like some kind of thistle. I'm going to mix some ultramarine with some of the dioxazine purple just to make a nice dark purpley blue, and then I'm going to get some of that separate to make a more watery version. So I'm going to start with just a really light coloured circle, like a bowl shape, and then with some of the stronger paint I'm going to create these kind of like spikes like this. I kind of like flick at the end a little bit. And sometimes they go down like that. And then I'm going to lift some of this out. I want this to be fairly light. So lifting some of that back out. And then also lift a bit of this out as well. to give it more of a streaky look. I'm going to wet that whole bowl again, actually. I'm going to add a little bit of green in there, in the middle. Just in that bottom area. Make it a little bit darker at the bottom. Just in this area. And I've got a really tiny brush with a really pointy end, and there's just loads of tiny little spikes. And then they've got like little notches on the ends of them. And then they've got kind of veins. I'm going to add a few veins on these parts. And then there's loads of little white dots as well. So I'm using some white gouache for this. Maybe add a little couple of white streaks on these bits. And then the stalk is also a little bit blue and a little bit green. So I'll just drop in some green as well. There we go, so that's that one. Quite pleased with that for the first attempt. I'm going to do it again, see if I can improve on it a little bit. So we start with a bowl of light colour, lightish colour. Whoops, it's a bit dark. While that's still wet, I'm going to pull from the colour that's already there to create the little spikes on the edges. I'm going to drop some green into the middle and also some stronger blue to create like a shaded area. I'm going to use this brush, get some of the darker colour, and then just create these, I don't know what they are, petals or spikes. Lift a little bit of the dark colour out. I'm going to drop some more darkness here. Concentrated colour. Then add loads of little spikes. Then loads of little lumps of white gouache. Lighten these up. I'm going to lighten these up with the gouache. Then put the little notches on these little spikes. I'm going to do the stalk in the green. Maybe lift a little bit of that colour out and then add some of the dark blue. Let that run into that. There we go, so that's two of those. Not really sure which one. I think I might prefer the first one. I think they're cute. Okay, so I think I'm going to end it there, otherwise the video is just going to be super long, but I might do some more of these flowers in the future. So I hope you've enjoyed the video and thanks very much for watching.